What's up, guys? So we're continuing on with our UI design. In the first video that we did on this little app that we're designing, we essentially just had our user create an account because we want to make sure that we have a sort of a database on them, and we want to make sure that we're able to get on that sweet data mining dollar there. So let's go over here and let's create our second screen. We're going to get some more information out of them, and obviously in this case we're not so much learning how to the ins and outs of data mining. What we're mostly learning is how to design UI sort of interfaces here. So this right here, we've got, I named my composition screen 1. If you want to rename this, you can right click on this and say rename, and I named it screen 1. That way when I click on this and I go over here to edit and I go to duplicate, I can duplicate this entire composition. I suddenly get a screen 2. So if I double click on screen 2, you can see it opens up down here. Once again, I'm under Window, Workspace, Default, and if you just hit Reset Default to save layout, you should see the same thing that I'm seeing here. And once again, screen 1 and screen 2 are identical in every way, shape, or form. If I were to zoom in, say for instance, to screen 2 and go back to screen 1, you can see we see a little different view here. If it's going to make it easier, you can always just sort of get rid of screen 1. You can close it out, but at any point you want to open it back up, you can always double click on it and open it back up and navigate these around. The user interface is pretty easy. This has got good UI design. All right, so just to differentiate these two, I am going to go down here to my little solid here, and I'll just double click on this solid, and let me go over here to find my effects and find my gradient ramp, and I'll just click, maybe I'll just shift the colors up slightly a little bit, maybe on the hue side. Maybe I just tick this up to more of like a blue color, and I'll tick this up, say for instance, to more like a yellowish color here, and we'll see how this looks. We'll close this out. And so now we've got kind of blue on yellow as opposed to teal on orange. In this case, this is more like a green. I'm not sure if I like that all that much. I might just make it more like a pale yellow or like a darker. Okay, that's good. Okay, so now we can go from screen 1 to screen 2, and we can kind of see a little difference there. Okay, so for this next one, what we're going to do is we're going to change this from create an account. We want to know where our person's located, because obviously marketing is going to be heavily involved in sort of targeting where your ads are going to be, targeting where all of your sort of the advertisers want to know, is this person anywhere near, say for instance, a Walmart? If they're obviously in Canada, they might not be near quite as many Walmarts as if they were maybe in say the United States. So let's find out where we're from here. So I'm going to change create an account to choose your country. So obviously the most, one of the most important things is to make sure that everything's spelled right here. All right, so once again, I'm using Century Gothic Bold, and I have the original title at 65 points. We don't want this to be terribly smaller. If it's going to be like, we don't want to make this so wordy that we have to make this super tiny, but I think if we made this maybe 60 points, it'll probably fit well. So this is what I've got. I got Century Gothic Bold, 60 points, and of course the little tag that I had before is still there. I'm going to keep my duck in my circle here for now, but what I will do is I will get rid of several things down below. So let's see if I'm going to keep Mr. Labello. Let's think here, make sure I've got this right here. I'm going to keep Mr. Labello. I'm going to keep the star. I'm going to keep this little guy here, and what I'll do is I'll just get rid of this email here. Let me just delete this, and let's see if I can't find a password, shape layer 3, password text box, password staff, email, shape layer 2, email text box, and I'll keep all this. So let's think here. Okay, choose country, Mr. Labello, range, selector name, shape, name text box. Okay, all that stuff is there. Fantastic. Cool. Awesome. All right, so let me just real quick color code some of this stuff here. So Mr. Labello, I'll keep this for now, but what I'll do here is I'm going to change name to click to choose, or rather, yeah, click to choose. Maybe instead of click to choose, tap to choose. And I might change this from, say, 86 points. I might change this to, say, for instance, like regular. And I might change this to maybe something slightly smaller, maybe 55. Well, 60 is probably as good. Maybe 70. Just so it's, we want to make sure we have some hierarchy. Maybe 80 could be good. All right. Yeah. What kind of, all right. We want this to be easy to see, obviously. So I'll have Mr. Labello, choose country. And instead of saying Mr. Labello, we can just choose a country here. In this case, I'll just choose United States. And I'll press U on the keyboard. Oops. Deselect my text here. And I'll just click down here, U on the keyboard. I'll get rid of these keyframes here. That way it's just going to appear. And I might push this out a little bit. Maybe I'll push this out to, like, say, for instance, 2 seconds, because I want my animation to be somewhat easy to see. So essentially what's going to happen is we're going to have this, come in. Oops, I added a new text layer here. All right, we're going to have this screen come in. We'll have this little thing that says choose a country, tap choose. And I want to have a little drop-down menu. I want to have this drop-down menu animate in. But here's the thing. I want to make sure that my drop-down menu I can reuse later on. So I'm going to make a new composition here. So I'm going to go here to composition and new composition. And we're going to get some settings down here. Now, but before I start, though, let's pause for just a second here. Let's go over here to our shape or name text box here. In this case, we can just right-click this to rename this to country shape. Shape. And we can click over here to the contents, find rectangle path, and look at the size. So in this case, my rectangle that I have on my drawing down here is 604.2 by 133. Now, if you can find, for instance, the Notepad app, or if you have like maybe a piece of paper on your sheet, you can write this down somewhere. But I'm going to just jot down 604.2 by 133.9. And that's going to inform how my next composition looks. So let's go back over here. Once again, composition, new composition. So I'm going to give myself 3 options. And in order for this to kind of work, let's just give ourselves, say for instance, room for this to kind of fit in on the composition. So I'm going to have it be, once again, 604 pixels wide, 604.2. And as far as the width goes, or the height goes, I'm going to have it be 133. I'm going to be able to fit in 3 of these little rectangles. 133.9 times, little asterisk there on the number pad, 4. And let's make sure it's the same frame rate as before. Let's press OK. Oh, okay. I'm thinking we need to change this to 25 because our frame rate was 25 before. 15 seconds is fine. Background color is fine, doesn't matter. All right, cool. So this is our little drop down menu. So we have room enough to fit 4. If I go here to screen 2, 4 of these right here, these little rectangles. So copying a layer here should be just as simple as just dragging this over here. No, maybe, yes, kind of. No, not quite. Okay, it's fine. We'll just make a new sheet layer. We'll just go here to layer, new shape layer. And what we'll do is we'll make a rectangle, and we'll once again go over here to our rectangle path size, and just get whatever it is that you had copied down there. So in this case, mine is 604.2. I'll paste that in. Uncheck this little chain link here, 133.9. And then as far as the roundness goes, let's look at the roundness. The roundness here is 146. So I'll make sure the roundness is 146. There you go. Okay, cool. And we can keep this. We'll just have it be round. I'll give my align. I'll make sure it's aligned to the center and aligned to the top. And what we'll do is we'll just duplicate this a couple times. So we'll just go down here. I'll call this shape layer 1. Let's have this be rename. All right, rename choice or option 1. Option 1. And we'll add a country name here. We'll put in United States. And I'll tell you what. We'll keep the text white for now, and we'll just make this maybe like a dark gray or a light gray here. Something light enough for this to fit in, for it to stand out here. All right, so United States. We'll just select this. Make sure these are aligned properly, and just make sure this is aligned here. Okay, looks good. All right, so with that done, I'm gonna just make this a bit smaller here. Shift and Alt, you can straighten it to be centered. Let's make here. right, good, cool. All right. Okay, so we'll just duplicate this a couple times. Just Control D, and we'll just get Option 2 under United States 2, Option 3 under United States 3, and we'll just make sure these are all color coded here, so we know what we're doing. So I'll make this say peach, and I'll make this say green, and I'll make this say cyan. Right? So that way we can kind of tell what's what. Okay, so with United States in Option 1, let's get United States 2 in Option 2 here, and we'll go over here to click P for position, and for our second, our little Y coordinates, we can just put plus, and then put whatever the height of your object is. So in this case, minus 1 through 3.9. So once again, I'll just click over here and I'll just do plus 1 through 3.9, and it should, oops, caps lock is off. Okay. Let's look, maybe Option 2 here, I'll do that one. Plus 1 through 3.9. Okay, for some reason this is making the United States kind of go a little weird here. That's okay though. Just make sure that United States, make sure that that your block is sort of attached down here, and we can kind of center these guys here to composition. All right, make sure this is centered as well. Cool, good. All right, and so the same thing goes for here for Option 3. Let's see here. We'll make Option 3 in United States 3, hit P for position, and under Option 3 we can put maybe, instead of 1 through 3.9, we can say plus 1 through 3.9. I want to say, can we do times 2? There you go, right, that works. And the order of operations kind of indicates that they'll multiply first before they add, so that's good stuff, right? We'll put this right here, 0.9, 0.2, and pop that up a little bit. That looks good. All right, cool. So with that done, I'll just make this just a shade darker, so I can distinguish it from the others in the list here. And I'll change this to, say, for instance, Canada. Make sure this is centered. And I'll change this to Mexico. Say we'll just, and obviously you can choose whatever countries you want. So if you want to say, for instance, limit yourself to maybe the Iberian Peninsula and just have the choice of like Andorra, Spain, and Portugal, or if you want to say, for instance, limit yourself to like the Middle East and just have, you know, Syria, Jordan, and Israel, or if you wanted to have, for instance, you know, something else. But in this case, I'm just going to give us 3 options. But because we're in North America, we'll have all that. All right. So with that done, let me just real quick drag this down. I'm going to just drag this straight down. Hold down shift while I do it. So it's lined up at the bottom. And the reason why is because I want this to sort of appear on the other on this the other side here, when we pull this into the other composition. Okay, so with that done, let's see if we can't animate this to sort of appear. First off, what we'll do is we'll just grab everything and we'll hit T for opacity, and we'll have everything fade in pretty quickly here. So I'll just click on the stopwatch here, and I'll just make everything 0, and then we'll just drag it over, say a quarter of a second here. So in this case, half a second is 12, a quarter of a second is 0.6, and we'll just have everything fade in. So if we just sort of, where it fades in, and we'll also have everything drop down slightly as well. So let's go to Mexico and Option 1 here, and we'll hit P for position, and we'll highlight those, and we'll just have this be our final position here. And for the first position, we can just sort of drag this up slightly. Oops, wait, this is fine. This is Mexico, so just have it drag up slightly. So that way when it fades in, it just sort of drops down some. Wait, whoops. Okay. So have this pull up a little bit. So that way when it drags down, it'll sort of drop down and fade down here. And we'll do the same thing with Canada here. We'll just have these two, hit P for position, and make a keyframe here, and keyframe here. Back it up, and just drag it up slightly. That way it sort of, they both kind of drop down. And then the same thing down here, United States, and we'll just pop this forward. P for position, hit the stopwatch. I can hit this little arrow right here, and then just drag it up a little bit. Wait, I'll make this be the keyframe that we land on, and then I'll drag up the first keyframe slightly. All right, so that way when we play it, they all kind of come in. Now, I want to stagger this, so I'm going to hit U on the keyboard to reveal all my keyframes. And I can even just drag this up some so I can see all my keyframes better. And I'm gonna pause for a second and just sort of rearrange where all the layers are. I want Mexico to kind of appear beneath Canada, and same thing, I want Canada to appear beneath the United States. So I'll have those kind of come in, and I'll just have them come in like one at a time. So first off, United States will drop down, followed right off the bat by Canada. So I'll just sort of drag these guys over slightly, and then followed right off the bat by Mexico. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Okay. All right, cool. And so we'll just we'll let this kind of hang back for just a second and give ourselves some time to think. And then what we'll do is we'll have, say, for instance, United States be the one that we select. So with that, in order to do that, let's click on the option 1 here, and let's click on this button over here that says Add. Once again, if you don't see this, make sure you just go to Window, Workspace, Default, and just reset the default to Save Layer. That way, when you add, you can add a fill. And when you come down here to your fill, you can kind of take a look at the fill, and you can see the composite. So we have fill normal, as in like the sort of blending option here. In this case, it's just normal. It's not, multiplier, doctrine. You know what those are from Photoshop and stuff. For as far as composite, below previous in same group basically means that we already have a fill established as far as this light gray here. And so if we want to put this fill above that fill there, then it'll show up. And what we can now do is we can animate the opacity here. So I click this little keyframe on opacity, and I can sort of drag this down to 0. That way this won't show up until we want it to show up. So I'll put this back here. And what we'll do is we'll just make another keyframe so it'll sort of step. It'll go from here to, say for instance, I'll just go forward 1 frame to 100%. And if you don't want it to be red, obviously you can change it to, say for instance, like a darker gray here. And then maybe kind of let that hang for a second, make another keyframe, and then go forward 1 frame, page it down on the keyboard. And we'll just hit this little button here, and then we'll just drag this back down to 0. So now what we see is we drag down, we think for a second, we select the United States, and then see we can't get this all dragged back up here. So let me just real quick, I'll finesse this a little bit here. I'll make this last slightly longer. So I want to make sure we know we've selected the United States. We'll give it a second here. Good, cool. Let's just what we'll do is we'll sort of copy and paste these. So what we'll do is we'll just select all these right here, Control C, and then under this little keyframe here, Control V. Oops. One second here. Control C, Control V. Okay, we want to copy these keyframes here. Let's see. Let's deselect all this. How about this? Control C, Control V. There we go. Cool. And let's see if we can't we'll just reverse the order here for both of these. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll just select just the keyframes here, Control C, Control V, and Control C, Control V, and we'll just rearrange the order. All right, great. And so that way now Mexico sort of, whoop. Okay. The shape here is not quite right. All right, great. Just about got it. Okay, so now, and then we'll do the same thing with Canada. Canada should just fade away, Control C, Control V, and we'll just reverse the order of these keyframes. Okay, almost there. Let's get these guys here. Control C, Control V. All right, now let's see what this looks like. It rolls down, we select United States, and it rolls back up. Very good stuff. Okay, cool. So let's save this, make sure we have this saved. I'm gonna rename my comp one to Dropdown country, say, right? And that way we can bring it back for like maybe something else that we select. And I'm gonna go back here to screen 2, and notice how we have tap to choose, and then it changes to United States. So let's see if we can't coordinate this. Let's go over here and drag our drop-down menu here into our screen 2 composition here, and we'll drag it out to where we can see the entire row here, and we'll just drag this down. And what we can do here is we can actually even hold down Shift and select this guy, for instance. And we can make sure they're both centered to the composition, and then we can make sure they're both aligned to the top. Oops, nope, top of the selection here, top. Good, cool. So now let's take a look-see. Tap to choose, right? United States. We choose United States, and then it drags down and it changes United States. I want to coordinate it to where this little moment here, the moment that comes in, I want that to be where it changes to United States. So I'm going to just well, let's put a little let's drag this. I'm not sure we can do much of a marker here. We can just drag this in to sort of stop there, and then drag this over to match, and then there we go. Cool. All right, so let's play this. All right, we'll just cool. All right, and so that'll be our second screen here. All right, so that seems pretty cool. Essentially, what you want to make sure is it sort of has a consistent animation here. You don't want like the words to appear really before the shapes do. And in this case, we could probably even just like take our opacity down for everything here, so maybe like 40% or 70% or something like that. See what this looks like. Obviously, you have several options, but there you go. That's a good little thing here. So in this case, we only had 3 options as far as the countries go. Obviously, there's like 160 countries out there. So this is just a real simple way of making a little drop-down menu. I think it probably would have been easier to do something like, I don't know, choose your gender or something like that, but there you go. All right, so that's a way of creating of animating a little drop-down menu for your UI design inside Adobe After Effects. All right, well, cannot wait to see you guys produce. Export this as an MP4 by going to File, Export, Add to Media Encoder Queue, and export it under the H.264 encoding, and submit the MP4 file, and not the AEP file. All right, very cool. See you in class.